Okay, welcome back, students. I hope you're all having a great day. And let's talk about supply now. So looking at my screen, we can see here that here's the supply lesson. So actually what I'm going to do is just go at it from the Excel file again. Now we're on the supply page of the Excel file. And I took all the dots off from the demand. The demand is filled in, but I took all the dots off. And now we're going to do the supply schedule, which is basically telling me that what is the schedule of supply that people are willing to provide, given that there's some demand there. So just tidying up here a little bit. So let's go back here, and I've already filled these in, but you would vote. There's actually a worksheet on the document. Let's see, unfortunately, I have two of these open. There's a worksheet on the document which you can feel free to fill out for your Cornell notes over here, and then add it to your Cornell notes and set up the graph something like this, or you can just use my graph from the Excel file. Okay, so let's go back to this. So let's assume I take a poll of the class and I ask you, all right, what's the minimum amount of money you would want to work for? So let's assume that you're graduating, it's summertime, and you don't have a job yet. And so your rich aunt decides, you know what, I'm going to buy you a food truck. And you can sit out there for an hour or so at lunchtime or 3 hours on a Friday afternoon and sell, let's say, pizza. Okay. So remember, we have a principle in economics called ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means that we're only looking at the two dimensions. So everything else is equal. So it comes from Latin. Ceteris is the root for et cetera, which means et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It means everything else. And paribus means on par, is the root for on par or par for the course, which means equal. So this just means et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, on par. Another way of saying everything else being equal. So we want to take out anything else. So for example, if you don't like pizza, I tell you, okay, substitute in whatever food you like. Okay, if you have any, are not hungry, let's take that out. Let's assume you're hungry. Okay, so ceteris paribus, we're going to assume everything else being equal. Now, what's going to happen here is that I'm going to ask you, I don't want you to be concentrating on how hard you have to work. So let's make it the minimum for you. Fully automated truck. People walk up to the truck. They type in what they want on a screen. They tap the card or the phone. They pay. And then the screen automatically hooks up to an oven in the back, which will drop in the pizza, drop in the toppings, run it through a grill. It'll plop down on a paper plate, a stack of paper plates, right in front of the person. So you don't have to do anything. Okay, so I don't want you to think, well, I don't want to work that hard. Just sit in the truck, collect the money. Okay. So I only want you to focus on one thing, just how much you're going to charge. What's going to be the price as a supplier? And what's going to happen is I'm going to ask you, what's the least amount you would do it for? So if I ask people, what's the least amount you would do it for? And they say $10, okay, that's going to be, what's the least amount you would do it for is zero. Nobody would answer, okay? And then what's going to be your annual income? I need to calculate that. Otherwise, these numbers are going to be meaningless to you. So just give you an annual income. Assume you sell 10,000 of these a year, okay? So 1,000 a month, 250 a week, not unrealistic. So what's the least you would do it for? And assuming that you want money, that you want to work and you want money. So everything else being equal, don't put any other thought process into it. It's a two-dimensional graph. We just want to know what's your reaction to the price And that is all. Okay. So assuming that you sell 10,000 at $10 times 10,000, that's $100,000. At 750 times $10, that's $75,000 for the year. At $5 times 10,000 is 50,000 for the year, and so forth. Okay. So the minimum, ask you what's the minimum, how many people would do it for zero, and nobody replies. So 10,000 pizzas times $0 would be zero revenue, and nobody wants to do that. So that's at zero. We're going to move one of these dots over here. Nobody wants to supply it. Okay. Think about the demand graph. It's a trade-off, right? You're trading off higher price, less sales, lower price, more sales. So it's a trade-off. So you're going to have a downward slope, which means a trade-off or an inverse slope or inverse relationship or negative slope. All these terms are used in math, right? But supply, the more the merrier. The more money you make, the more people are going to want to jump in and compete with you. So what's going to happen is supply is going to increase with the price, okay? Because people want to make more money. The more money they can make, the more suppliers you will have coming into the business. When Apple started with their iPhone, there was one iPhone. Now there's like dozens, basically, because everybody saw the money iPhone was making, and everybody wanted to jump in and make as much money as Apple. So because of the high prices, $1,000 an iPhone, everybody jumped in, right? So that's the principle behind supply. So if you're not going to make any money, it's illogical for you to sell anything at zero, and nobody would answer. Now I say, okay, who would do it for $2.50 a slice? And that's 25,000 a year. Well, I would have when I was in college. So some students will answer, but I know the expectations of the millennial, Gen Z, not the same. Gen Z are very high, but when you go apply for jobs, your expectation is going to come back down to earth, okay? Nobody's going to pay you millions of dollars for sitting around and playing with your cell phone, for example, at work. That's not going to happen. So, I mean, unless your boss is insane. So, but so who could make 25,000, let's say working one afternoon a week or an hour every afternoon in between class? Let's say do it during the semester. They can make 25,000 a year. You know, that's not a bad part-time salary for an hour a week. It's actually fantastic, believe it or not. But students' expectations are high, so only 5 people answer at the $5 level. I'm going to have to make this slope a little bit different to hit that line, or move all these numbers to the left. Yeah, so to hit that $2, 250, sorry, hit the 250, I'm going to have to, no, not 250, 2.5. Hit the 250, we have 5 people answering. Okay, what's the least you would do for, who would do it for $40,000, which means you got to charge $4 times 10,000 pizzas. And that would be, let's say $3. Who would do it for $3 for 30,000? Let's say that's 8 people. And that would put you over here. Whoops, that's a really big dot, right? And then I have to add 8 people somewhere along this bottom line. And for some reason that didn't take. And let's see, probably I need to move that a little to the right. I'm very bad at art, so my apologies, people. Again, I want to make this as live an experience as possible, so you can see what it would be like if you actually were here participating. So that's going to be 8 people at $3. Now at $4, well, these lines are no longer meeting. Let's see. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay, that's close enough. Yeah, there we go. So at $4, we have 13 people. $5, we have 13 people. No, $4, we have 13 people. Sorry. $4, we have 13 people. and they're going to actually meet the demand line. This demand is here. So this is D. Nope, this is S. And this is supply curve. So we usually just write S for supply and D for demand. Okay. So now we have another dot that we put over here, and that's where the average number of people is going to be. The majority of the people in one will pick one number. And then, right, because remember, if we go to 15, it's only 2 more people. Go to 17, it's only 2 more people. Go to 20, it's only 3 more people. So this is the biggest jump here from 8 to 13. So the biggest change in the average. And then what's going to happen, let's say I tell you, what are the prices do I have here? $5 and $7.50. So at $5, let's say I have 15 people. So I got 2 more people jumping in at $5. I guess I can restore these back to being in the middle. And then what we want to say is at $7.50, everybody joins. So I have 20 people at $7.50, and everybody's going to join in the group at $7.50. But remember, it's only like a couple more people, right? 3 more people, 5 more people. From 15, where do we go? 13. Let's see, 15. So from 15 to 20 is 5 more people, right? So I have these dots, and if I connect them together, I can make my supply curve. Again, remember, changing the price only moves you along the curve, because whenever I change the price, let's say I make it like $6.50 here, then I just add another dot. That's all. I just, of course, it's more money, so you get a few more people. So you might get this 17 people here. You might get the 17 people here at $6.50 if I were to add that line and put borders around the top and bottom. So I'm going to update this just as an example. That the point here being that I can just keep adding. I get $6.51 actually, right? Or $6.50. And then I would have 17 people. So I can just keep adding, more and more prices, changing it by a penny. And it's not going to give me any points anywhere else, because I can always match a quantity. How many people vote for that? Raise your hand. And that's what we do in class. How many people vote for that? And I can just add infinite number of points to this line, as long as they're like a penny apart, right? Okay, so that's the supply schedule. And now we want to document what is going to be the law of supply. Now, surprisingly, it's going to be different from the law of demand. And the law of supply, filling this in interactively, is going to be what happens as the price goes up. You get more suppliers, right? You can make more money, as you can see here. And so what's going to happen is as the price goes up, the quantity goes up. And then when the price goes down to like 0 to 50, you lose everybody. So as the price goes down, the quantity goes down. So just quite the opposite from the law of demand. If I can get these to be straight with my dramatically poor art skills. And this is the consequence of the law of supply. And that's all there is to it, actually. And next time we'll talk about shifts in supply and demand. So that's it for now. Thank you.